It's funny when you have a title called Set Your Past on Fire, because I've had some funny experiences with fire. And a few years ago, I was at this, I think it was a Methodist retreat. It was a national conference at this beautiful retreat center. And after I spoke that night, everybody went outside and they had these lanterns. Have you seen these lanterns where you light the candle and then the lanterns go flying in the air? It's so beautiful. I've always wanted to be a part of one of those epic moments that you see almost on advertisements of these great places you go traveling. And so everybody went outside and everybody was given their flying lantern, and we lit them all on fire. And then they put them up and they just started flying in the air and the wind shifted. And instead of going out into the open space where the lanterns were all supposed to fly, they started turning and flying into the woods. And we're all standing there singing this song, having this deep moment. And then we saw the lanterns hitting these trees, and all of a sudden a fire started in the woods. And everybody's running across the field to the woods, trying to go to put out the fire before they burn down the entire forest. And I thought, wow, that's almost a metaphor for life. Sometimes we think we're creating something beautiful, and next thing we know, everything around us is in disarray and just lit up. I wonder how many times in my life I made a choice and I thought it was all going to go really, really well, and then before I knew it, everything was up in flames. So I think this chapter, set your past on fire, is really important, because one of the great challenges in life is that you're going to make mistakes, you're going to have failures, you're going to blow it. You're going to have times in your life you wish that you didn't remember, that no one else would remember. And if you're not careful, you might actually come to believe that the worst moments in your past are the defining moments of your future, and they're not. You don't have to be defined by your worst moments. You don't have to be defined by the moment you set the woods on fire. God has an incredible way of taking your worst moments and using that as the material to create the best you. It's through that pain and through that failure and through those wounds and through that suffering that you actually become a more textured, a more interesting, and a more profound human being. But you want to make sure, though, is that you don't confuse setting your past on fire and burning bridges. It's really important to not set on fire all the bridges that you need to walk back across. And in my life, and from my perspective, the bridges that matter are people. You don't want to confuse your pain and your frustration and your failures and the things you need to leave behind with the people that love you and are committed to you and that matter in your life. Keep the people, leave the problems. Move forward with those who help you put the fires out in your life, and then make sure that you jump in to help put the fires out in their life. But it's really important to know that there's some things you just have to burn to the ground. There's some things in your past that you just have to let go of. There's things in your past you cannot allow to live. You just need to put them behind you. I love the moment when Elijah says to Elisha to come with him. And it tells us that Elisha slaughtered his oxen, cut the plows, turned it into an altar, and offered as an offering to God. I think what Elisha was doing is he was symbolically and actually literally setting his past on fire. He was taking what he had, what was his life, what was his livelihood, and said, there is no coming back here. This is now my past, and I'm stepping into my future. I wonder, what are the things in your life right now that you keep dragging with you into your future that need to be left in your past? What are the things in your life that you keep holding on to as if they have value, but really you need to put them on the altar, light it up, and move on?